So Bitcoin enters this last week of June with geopolitics at key crossroads and macro volatility too much. Where will Bitcoin head next? Are we going to 95,000? Are we going to see another big dump? Or is it going back to 110K? Let's talk about it. Hey everyone, welcome to Crypto Corner, your go-to place for all things crypto. My name is OJ, crypto analyst and investor for the last 10 years. I've invested in many crypto startups over the years, and I started this video podcast to share my experience, to talk about crypto and to grow the crypto community. I started this back in 2016, so it's almost 10 years of this video podcast as well. Now, we're just coming out of a very volatile weekend. We did see the US strikes on Iran over the weekend, and of course, that caused massive dumps across all markets. Bitcoin reacted to that, and with Bitcoin, of course, all the cryptocurrencies, the altcoins especially, are taking a much harder hit than Bitcoin. Bitcoin dropped by something like 5% over the last couple of days, and most of the alts were dropping by 20, 30, some 50%. So it was really a red weekend. This is the screenshot from yesterday. It looks a little bit better today. We can see there is a little bit of green here and there, like Solana is in the green. We also see that Hype is in the green. Actually, Hype is one of the best performers today, 5% up already. Then Shiba is a little bit up, HBAR is a little bit up, Avalanche is a little bit up, but overall, it is again quite a red day. Bitcoin is back at 101,000. It actually dropped to around 98,000 earlier. Ethereum is back at 2,246. It went down to 2,000 earlier, 2,100. So right now we're seeing a bounce. The question really is if this is a temporary bounce or is it going to be a proper recovery. Bitcoin is about to juggle a slew of geopolitical and macroeconomic volatility triggers in the nail-biting end to this June, and 100,000 support is now hanging in the balance. The latest developments in the Middle East sparked knee-jerk reactions on crypto, oil and stock futures, but analysis notes that no long-term conflict is being priced in. At least that's how I see it. I was expecting this drop. In fact, I tweeted that a quick dump is good because it will lead to a bounce and possibly to a quick recovery. But the problem now is if the conflict deepens, the recovery will be prolonged. And with that, the dump could also get much deeper first before we see a proper recovery. But before I open the chart of Bitcoin, a quick word about one of our partners. You know that I always talk about the importance of using cold wallets, self-custodial storage for your crypto assets, because security remains a critical challenge in this sector. And with last year's losses from hacks and scams exceeding $2 billion, most of these were due to vulnerabilities in online storage and poorly decoded transactions. Bybit, if you remember, one of the biggest hacks in crypto history, they got wrecked because of blind signing. Okay, it was Safe Wallet really that took the hit because they were the custodian for Bybit, but from a security point of view, Bybit signed everything blindly. No transaction parsing on either the app or the hardware wallet. If they had verified what they were signing, this wouldn't have happened. They suffered a hack of over $1 billion. This is why I use OneKey cold wallets for my crypto holdings. It's one of my top devices, the OneKey Pro, and even their Classic One model. They're both equipped with the latest, most robust security features that protect my assets the safest way. Plus, I can use DeFi features or NFTs inside the wallet without having to send my tokens to other platforms for that. Staking, yield farming, instant token swaps, it's all there. OneKey develops open-source hardware wallets that address rising risks in crypto asset management, serving both retail and institutional users seeking to secure self-custody. I've been using their products for the last 5 years now, and I've reviewed every device that they have, that they're bringing out on the market. You can check out these reviews in the wallets playlist on my channel, or you can find them on my cryptocorner.com website, crypto-corner.com. This is my blog website. And for all of those who haven't yet heard of OneKey, and you may be wondering if the company is legit, if it's as trusted as OGs like Ledger or Trezor, well, let me tell you, they just got funding from YZ Labs, a company that CZ from Binance started. They manage over $10 billion in assets globally, and their portfolio covers over 300 projects from 25 countries across 6 continents. So now OneKey has not one but 2 of the top crypto giants investing in them. I'm saying this because Coinbase Ventures was an angel investor when OneKey was just a startup. It was the first cold wallet company that Coinbase Ventures invested in, and now they got investments from Binance. I mean, indirectly, but you know what I mean. The 2 most popular exchange platforms are supporting this company. How's that for credibility, right? OneKey was founded in 2019 and now has 60 employees across Japan, South Korea, Dubai, Italy, and China. They achieved 11x increase in secured user assets value over the past 3 years, alongside a 300% average annual growth in hardware wallet sales. And I'm happy to announce that being a partner of this channel, there is a limited time discount that you can take advantage of. For the first 100 people who use the link that I dropped in the description below, you get extra 15% discount, you guys. So make sure to use this until the end of the month. Ideally, right now, right this moment, waste no time. You can choose any of their wallets, and they have a few different price brackets as well. So it's up to you how much you want to spend. Their classic one model, this one here, is below 100 bucks. Then there is the Pro. The Pro model is their most advanced so far, and you will save almost $40 with the invite link in the description below on this device. You can also just go to their website directly if you don't like using links or anything like that, and you can apply this coupon at checkout to get the discount. So you don't even have to use the link if you don't feel comfortable using links. But you can pick any item from their website. There is no minimum order for this. Just enter the code during checkout so that you can get the discount. I also retweeted about this partnership with YZ Labs on my X, so you can check out the full announcement there. The discount is valid all through June, but time flies and we're now entering the last week, so don't sleep on this. There is no minimum requirement, as I said, for the discount, so even if you just get their metal plates for your seed phrase or anything, you will still get the discount. Alright, so back to the charts. Well, as I said, today is better than what we saw over the weekend. We do see a little bit of recovery here and there. Bitcoin is back at 101,000, Ethereum is back at 2,200, XRP is at $2, BNB is at 620, Solana is at 133, Tron is at 26 cents, Doge is at 15 cents. Not a very good performance, as you can see. Actually, Doge is one of the worst performers here in the top 10 over the from the start of this year. It is 52% down. I mean, none of the other coins here in the top 10 are 52% down. So really not a good performance. Hype, however, is definitely taking center stage, 5% up today, by far the biggest gainer here in the top 10. And if we look in the last 3 months, 116% up in the last 3 months. So really good performance. This is actually one of the few altcoins that I'm holding in my portfolio and that I'm trading on KuCoin. And I'm actually, as you know, my new strategy is to stick to around 10 altcoins, no more than that, so that I can actively trade them, and I trade them shorter term because, as you see, right now the volatility is such that it doesn't really give us much of opportunities to be holding. Holding right now is not a winner's game. You need to actually take advantage of every pump, offload, and then wait for the corrections and the dumps and everything, which are far too many and far too often to be missing out on this. But let's focus on Bitcoin and have a look at the price action on Bitcoin, because earlier it actually dropped to 98,000, which was a key support. This is the Fibonacci that I was drawing earlier. This was, you know, I drew Fibonacci here from our most recent low to the most recent high. And I was looking at support levels. We did have a crucial support at 102, $102,000. we broke this support, and as we broke it, our next support was lying at 98,800. We did drop lower than that. Briefly, we actually went to 98,200. So we very briefly broke this support, but this was a test. And in fact, because it was just a wick here on the 4-hour chart, as you can see, this is just a short wick. Very quickly, we managed to come back to this level, and as of right now, we are still sitting above this level, which is good. Not only that, but we're actually making a recovery. We are making a run for the previous support, which is now acting as a resistance, which is the 102,000. So we are failing. As you can see, we managed to go to 2,100, but we got rejected from there. So as of right now, this is still acting as a resistance. For the next few days, this is going to be a level that we have to watch out closely, because if this remains a resistance, definitely we are going to see Bitcoin dropping to below 100 again. 95,000 is another number that I'm looking at, and this is mainly the reason why I'm talking about 95,000 is because we do have a few support levels here, and one of them indeed is the 95k, which is sitting here as a previous resistance that we have now flipped into a support. Before that, we do have another previous resistance at 97k, which we flipped into a support. And so far, as we were coming closer to that resistance, as you see, the buyers stepped in. So 97, 98,000 right now looks like an appealing accumulation level. Buyers are stepping in at this level. However, this is in the short term, and because this was a very brief drop, a very sharp drop, I knew that a bounce is going to come. The question right now is if this is going to be just a bounce, a short-term bounce, or is it going to be a recovery? And we have to look at a few other factors for that. For instance, data from Cointelegraph Markets Pro and TradingView shows accelerating sell-side pressure running out of steam near the 98,000 range, a key area of buyer interest that we are seeing that I just mentioned. But if this facilitated the relief rally, then we are in for a further deeper correction in my view. Earlier, liquidity was sitting at 100,000 and 98,000, and the price moved directly there. So this makes perfect sense, but now liquidity is sitting even lower at 95,000. Yes, that's right. That is concerning. Bitcoin was first to react to the latest developments in the Israel-Iran conflict this weekend, which now directly involves the US. Just as Bitcoin quickly set a low and rebounded, so too did the oil markets and the US stock futures, but by all measures this speaks of a market that is not pricing in a long-term conflict. I'm not surprised, because at this point most of us are hoping that there won't be a full-blown World War III starting, but that the conflict will be resolved soon and that we can move on with our lives. But is this more of a hopium than reality? The market right now is too fragile, too emotional. I mean, it's always emotional, it's always driven by emotions, but right now the volatility is high and we are one tweet away from another massive dump, or pump for that matter. This is not a great time for opening positions, or at least not a great time for taking long-term positions, and this is why I'm now playing the short-term game, day trading, taking advantage of the short-term swings rather than positioning for the longer term, as I usually prefer to do in a bull cycle. So it is definitely a different cycle. There's just too much noise. There's the tariff wars, the Israel war, Iran, Russia and Ukraine, the Fed, recession worries, inflation data, and it's all endless noise. And markets react to each of these events with a lot of uncertainty. In other words, volatility that can wipe out any profits in a day. While Bitcoin is feeling the pressure from macro uncertainty, it's altcoins that are leading the losses in this sector. The combined altcoin market cap, excluding the top 10 cryptocurrencies, fell to $202 billion on Sunday, its lowest since April. Altcoins have consistently struggled this year, and Bitcoin is making new all-time highs, leaving even the leader Ether far behind, despite all the Ethereum bulls posting endless hopium on X And yes, I've been calling them out for their short-sighted takes on reality. What we have to realize now is this cycle is not favorable to altcoins at all. They have some great days, some really good pumps and everything, but these are very sporadic, very short-lived, and quite rare. For the most part, alts are bleeding and money keeps going back to Bitcoin, which is why if you look at most alts performances against Bitcoin, they're in the red for the past year, even more in the red over the longer term, the 2 or 3 years. Ethereum alone has lost more than 50% of its value against Bitcoin in the past year. It's nearly 60 actually, during a bull market. That's never happened before. Holding Ether has resulted in massive losses for many, especially the larger wallets. And I know that very well because I was holding around 300 Ether at the start of this cycle, hoping that yet again Ethereum is going to outperform Bitcoin like it did in the last 2 cycles. I mean, in the last cycle, Ethereum outperformed Bitcoin by 300% or something like that. And in the previous cycle, it was outperforming it even more. But, you know, this is when Ether was really blooming and thriving, and all of the, you know, new projects were being built on Ethereum. And that's no longer the case. We saw that Solana took a massive chunk of Ethereum's market over the last couple of years and continues to do so. And it's not just Solana. But all in all, what I'm saying is that this cycle is definitely very different from the previous cycles. We can no longer expect that holding any altcoin for the longer term is going to be a profitable game. If anything, this cycle is proving all of these people who think that wrong. And for me, right now, the best play is short-term day trading. Quickly jumping in and out, taking advantage of these price swings. And also, we're still having the uncertainty of not only the wars, but the tariff wars, you know, the tariffs that were suspended for 90 days. I mean, time is passing by. These 90 days are running out. Very soon, we're going to start talking about tariffs yet again. Very soon, we're going to see the FUD, the fear, uncertainty, and doubt setting in to the markets and affecting the prices. We're going to see even more volatility. We're going to see a lot of dumps yet again. The stock market is going to react to tariffs heavily, and as you know, Bitcoin is still quite correlated to the stock market. Therefore, we are still having to worry about Bitcoin, and therefore all of the altcoins dropping much lower if the tariffs take center stage again. And they will take center stage because the 90-day period is drying out very soon. There's 1 more month left, and then we're going to be talking about this again. I know that we wanted to move on from that narrative, but I'm pretty sure that we will be seeing a lot of headlines again discussing this, a lot of uncertainty again about this, and markets don't like uncertainty. So there's still a lot of hurdles before us, and even though I don't believe that we have ended the bull cycle, we have to watch out closely because the signs could be there. It is possible that 111,000 was the actual top of this cycle, and that we may not see another top. It will depend on the recovery. It will depend on the macroeconomic factors that we have to take into account. So all of these things are going to affect the prices over the coming weeks and the coming months. And this is why I'm talking about short-term, focusing on short-term trading rather than trying to play the long-term game and position yourself for long-term, because as of right now, we have no guarantees that this cycle is going to continue pumping. It could be that we are losing momentum, and that from this point we're going to see a longer and deeper correction. Of course, I'm going to update you on this one. Right now, it's a little bit too early to be making any, bold statements. I want to see how Bitcoin is going to react once it starts approaching 102,000, 106,000. These are areas that used to be support. Now they're flipped into resistance. If we manage to break these resistances, if we manage to reclaim these levels, then everything is good and we're going to continue on the way up. But this recovery right now is really hanging in the air. It is not a certainty. We have no, the charts at least are not showing anything for certain. Today we're seeing Bitcoin bouncing on the upside, but the volume is not coming. In fact, we're having a rising price with a diminishing volume. This is a bearish indicator. Therefore, I'm seeing today's bounce as nothing but a bounce. That's it. It's just a bounce, kind of a relief rally after the massive dumps over the weekend. And I feel that it's going to be a bit difficult right now for Bitcoin to get over to the resistance of 102,000, and even more difficult to get over the resistance of $106,000. And these are the two key areas that I'm watching, because if we fail to reclaim these levels, then 95,000 is definite. Even 90,000 is on the table. So we could actually see Bitcoin drop in the 90,000s yet again, and it could be actually very soon. It could be over the next few days. So watch out for the next update. Make sure you subscribe to this channel. If you're new to this channel, I'm doing videos every week. Sometimes I do 2 or 3 times a week if there's anything important to discuss. And this week, I'm definitely coming to you with another update on the price. We're going to monitor these prices and these levels very closely, because this is what's going to determine the direction of Bitcoin for the next month, and that's important. So stay tuned. Thanks for staying until the end of the video, and while you're here, just pick another one, and I'm gonna see you there.